I love you.
Look.
What's up, everybody?
Look.
Welcome back to my channel, Real Talk Recovery, where we talk about recovery. Ask your dad. Ask your dad. Where we talk about recovery from addiction, and I share my life with you. My name is Nicole. I'm a person in recovery. My sobriety date is July 13th of 2015. So you guys, tonight we're going to have a special guest speaker. Tonight, Rachelle is going to come on and share her experience, strength, and hope. She is known here on TikTok as Chelio Lee, CHELIO_Lee. But her real name is Rachelle, and she is in recovery. She is actually on an MAT program like I am, and she is a poly addict. She was addicted to multiple substances. So I'm going to wait for her to get on, and then we will get the... Oh, she's on already. Awesome. Okay, so what we're going to do is... do me a solid, you guys. Share this video. Share this video. Invite your friends. Let's get people in here. Let's get people pumped up about hearing her story. Let me think. If y'all don't mind, let me see if I can share this on Facebook before I bring her on. Hold on. Okay. Hey, everybody. Drop your sobriety dates in the comment section and share this video. Drop your sober dates and share this video. Drop your sober dates and share this video. Okay. All right, I'm going to send her an invite.
Hey, girl.
Can you hear me?
I can. Can you hear me?
I can hear you good. I'm excited. Oh, yay.
I know. Excited too.
So, okay, don't be nervous or anything. You're going to do great. Okay, so this is what I like to do. I like for you guys, when you come on, what we do first is introduce yourself to everybody. Let us know. I think you're a poly drug addict, right? All substances?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Kind of share with us, like, that's your poly substance abuse and what your sobriety date is. And then start with us from the beginning. Let us know, what was it like when you were a kid growing up? Kind of what was it that made you go that way into addiction? Was it like, did you have a car wreck? Did a boyfriend break up with you and you get depressed and try cocaine? You know what I'm saying? And then once you share with us how you tried drugs and what happened, share a little bit of what it was like, maybe your rock bottom, and then share with us what encouraged you, inspired you to get sober. And if I have any questions, I'll just kind of ask you, just kind of organically pop in and out.
Butt in and ask me, or if I'm like going off the trail, just kind of steer me back.
I will. I'm excited. So you got it. You take the lead, and I'm just going to be listening. If I have any questions, I'll ask.
Okay. I'm going to start off, you guys. Hi. Sorry, my neighbor. I'm going to start off by telling you guys what happened today, just real quick, because I have struggled through my whole sobriety, especially my active addiction, but even my sobriety, like with my spirituality. And I think that most addicts lack that, they lack their spirituality. And so I was really nervous for tonight, and I was, I'm like, God, do I even want to do it? Maybe I should cancel. Like, I'm sweating right now. And all of a sudden I'm getting ready to get in the shower, and I get a knock on the door, and I'm like, who the fuck is at my, like, no one comes to my door, like no one ever. And so I answer the door, and it's two missionaries, and they were like, hey, we were just wondering if we could come spread the message with you and like pray with you. And, I'm like, sure. So I let them come in. I'm like, I have a few minutes, and so they come in, and I just start bawling. Like, I'm just like bawling. But I just thought, like, that was such a God moment. You know what I mean? Like, and I've had those throughout my sobriety, but I've still kind of struggled with it. So they're coming back next week. I just thought it was super cool.
So I understand. Pushing through these situations, like coming on here and telling your story, like, you're going to be so glad you did afterward. And you'll have this video to refer back to, like, anytime you need it. You can take this video and upload it onto your YouTube channel.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I've kind of been struggling with that. So so my name's Rachelle. I go by Chelio Lee on here. Chelio was my nickname from my uncle growing up. And so that's my name on here. I like my main drug of choice was heroin and opiates. But I liked every drug. I mean, it didn't matter what it was. Sorry, my neighbor is like screaming.
No, you're okay.
So anyways, so I liked all drugs. So starting out in my childhood, I lived with my mom. She was a single mom of 3 kids. She did hair for a living. She was never home. She went out to the bar on the weekends. And so I felt like I really helped raise my siblings. You know, I had to grow up very fast.
Yeah.
And so like I lost my virginity at a very young age and like to an older guy and, you know, just, but I didn't, the first drug I ever tried, I was 13. Well, the first drug I ever tried was like, I smoked a little pot, but I always hated pot. Like that was never my thing. I didn't like it. But I did drink a little bit, but I felt like I was pretty normal for a teenager. You know, I mean, I drank on the weekends and that was about it. And then, when I got to middle school, I really struggled with going to school. I didn't go. So I was in the juvenile court system and they were
Why
threatening to
not?
take
Why
me
didn't you
away.
go?
And
Were
what?
you depressed or were you just rebelling?
I just, you know, now looking back, I think I really struggled with anxiety really bad. But so but I didn't know that at the time. I just knew
Right.
that like there'd be times my mom would take me to school and we would get to the front door and I'd be late and I would see everybody like in the auditorium and I'd be like, nope, I'm not going in, not going in. And I'd refuse to get out of the car. And she's like, bitch, you are getting out of this car. I'm like, nope, I'm not doing it. I'm not doing it. So, but the first hard drug I ever tried, I was 13 and I had met up with this girl that I went to elementary school with, and but I hadn't seen her because she went to a different middle school. So when I see her, she's like super skinny now, and I'm like, and she was a little chubby, like kind of growing up, and I'm like, gosh, she looked really good though. I'm like, you look really good. Like, how'd you lose so much weight? Like, you look great. And she's like, oh, it's my Magic Slim Fast. No idea what she was talking about, you know. So I spent the night at her house one night with her older brother, and all of a sudden they bring out a broken light bulb, and I'm like, the fuck you get, you know, what are you guys doing? You
Yeah.
know, and they're like, oh, it's crank, you know, and I'm like, and I had, you know, I'm 13, I don't know what
Right.
crank is, you know, but I decided to do it with them, and I didn't really like, they gave me the very last of it, so I didn't really feel too much from it. So I move on. Still no real drugs or nothing, you know, just a little pot here and there, and then drinking a little bit. And I did a little bit of coke when I was like 17, but still nothing grabbed me. No, I didn't get
Right.
addicted to anything. It was literally recreational, did not get addicted. Got pregnant when I was 17. Normal pregnancy. I quit smoking the second I found out I was pregnant. I did everything right when I was pregnant. You know, I had my baby, but I was so young when I had him. I just couldn't grow up, you know?
Yeah.
And so, but growing up, like my mom, she did the best she could with what she had, but she was not, and she still isn't, a motherly kind of mom. Like she's not nurturing whatsoever. So not only did I grow up without my father, I grew up without a nurturing mother. So, um, you know, I'm really affectionate today. And I still don't know how I turned out that way because she was never that way. She was never affectionate.
Was she there
And
when you had your baby? Did she help you when you had your baby? Because you were
she
young.
did. She's a great grandma.
Yeah.
I don't know why you're such a good grandma when you weren't that good of a mom, you
Right.
know? And so we're still fighting to this day. Like she's making TikToks about me and threatening to take custody of my little one. And, oh, I guess I didn't
I
say my
hate that.
sobriety date. So I had a mess up. Like, so I'm going to say my story is probably going to be a little different than the people that normally tell their stories, only because I do still struggle a little bit today. And
That's okay.
I'm completely honest with all my followers and everybody, because all the times I went to treatment, that was the one thing they implanted in my brain was you tell on yourself, you tell on yourself, you tell on yourself. Secrets keep you sick, you know? And so I'm honest. And I did have a mess up the other day. I was cleaning out underneath my sink and I found my glucose test because I'm pre-diabetic. And I'm like, what is this doing under the sink? And I open it and there was 7 bars in there. And I'm like,
You hit him. You
dude,
hit him
like
from
where'd those
yourself.
come from?
Yeah.
Yeah, like where did these come from? And I didn't even think. Like, you know, when you have those moments you don't think, you just do. And I'm
Yeah.
so impulsive and I just did it. So I took them. So that's why she's like threatening to take custody of my little one. So anyways, we'll go back to when I was growing
Listen to
up.
me for a second. Your story, you're going to be, a lot of people will be able to relate to your story. And it doesn't matter, like, if you've had a slip recently or if you've been sober for 25 years, like, somebody
Right.
is going to be able to relate to your experience. And I bet you there's a lot more people that can relate to struggling,
Yeah,
than they can to being multiple years sober. So I'm
that's
glad
so
that you're
true.
honest about that, and I commend you for being honest, because it takes a lot of balls to be honest on social
It's
media,
hard.
because people are mean
Yeah,
as hell. So I'm
they
proud of you for
are.
being honest.
Thank you. Like they are so mean. They are so people are like, "Oh, you're a mother, you're this that." Like it if you know anything about addiction, you know that children do not get us sober. They just
Right.
don't. They unfortunately, they don't. Does that mean I don't love them? No, I love them with everything I have. And it kills me that they're not enough. Why aren't they enough, you know? Um so I got a boyfriend when I was like 22 and we're getting ready to go to a family dinner. Like they had a family friend, and we're getting ready to go to dinner. And I get a migraine, and I'm like, I have such a migraine, like I can't go. I can't go. And he's like, here, he had like severe back problems and like had back surgery and all this, like at a super young age. So he had a whole bottle of hydrocodone, and he's like, here, take 2 of these, your migraine will go away. So I'm like, okay. So I take the 2 hydrocodone, and that's what grabbed me. My life changed forever. Like I get chills talking about it. Like that is what changed my whole life that night. And I always think like if I could go back to that night and make a different decision, would I? Because it I knew from that day forward that I needed an opiate. It
Right.
completed me. It was like I had some hole inside me, and that opiate was like, yep, it just filled it up. And I was like, this is it. I love this. I love it. This is amazing. And so I did whatever I could to get opiates, but I didn't grow up around drug addicts and stuff. So I didn't really have access to it. So I was a big doctor shopper. I doctor shopped like crazy, and I found a doctor that was prescribing me 116 Oxycontin a week. And
Wow.
when I tell people that, they're like, no fucking way. I'm like, I swear to God,
Back in the
I
day, you
walked
could do
in,
that. You could get the script
yeah, you
easy. Back,
could.
it was
It was
probably back
easy.
before 2000. Like, I want to say, like, even in 2010, you could still get a good prescription of Roxy's or
Yeah.
something. So
Yeah.
I
Yep.
can't really remember when they got really strict, but it's just recently in the last like 7 years or so they
Yeah.
got strict.
Yeah. Absolutely. Like they were very willingly to just hand whatever out. And so I'd go to the ER all the time. Oh, I think I have a kidney infection. Oh, my back hurts. Oh, this. Well, then I did get a back injury. So then I had a neurosurgeon that was legit prescribing them for pain. But I went a while without taking them. Like I'd go back and forth with it. Well, then I'm trying to think of like big key points that really like played a role in my addiction. Like my oldest son's dad in 2009, I was in school for aesthetics, and he was in a horrific motorcycle accident, and he's now a quadriplegic. So that killed me because we are so close, and he's an amazing father, always has been. And so I tried to get back with him after his accident. I felt like his wife left him after the accident, so I got back with him because I
Uh-huh.
felt like it was almost my job to take care of him. It was my son's dad, and my grandma told me, she's like, Rachelle, you need to think it through, because that's going to be a lot of work taking care of him. And I'm like, no, I can handle it. I can do it. And I couldn't do it. It was so hard taking care of a little child, and then a grown man that
Yeah.
literally couldn't even still can't feed himself.
Right.
He can't do anything. He was in a sip and puff wheelchair, so he blew into a straw to move around. And it was hard, not being able to be affectionate, not being able to have sex, like just everything.
Right.
So I left him, and the guilt from leaving him was just like crippling. So I went full blown into my addiction. And that's when I found my Oxycontin doctor. And I mean, when I first got that script, I'm like, hell yeah, I just hit the lottery, you know, like I got the script. And so I'm taking them, and it took me 2 weeks to become physically dependent on them. That was it, 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh my God, I'm like, what is my legs doing? What are my legs doing? Why are they so restless? Like, what is going on? You know, I remember restless legs was the first symptom I got. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? And then I would take my pills and it would go away. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm addicted to these, you know? And it took me a long time. I would watch Intervention and stuff, and I'm like, oh, I'm not like them. I'm not shooting up. Like, I'm not shooting up, so I'm not like them. Like, I don't have an addiction. I'm fine. And so I go to my first treatment center. I only lasted about 2 days because I thought I didn't have an addiction. I didn't think I had a problem. I thought I was fine.
Right, because they were
And
prescribed to you. I know.
yeah, from a
That's like
doctor.
that happens so much to so many people, and that's when your brain starts playing tricks on you because you're like,
Yeah.
well, I need this. The doctor's prescribing it to me, so what I'm doing is not
Yeah.
wrong. You know what I mean?
Yep,
Uh,
exactly. I'm like, I'm following my doctor's orders. I mean, yes, I was taking more than what I was prescribed, but it was from a doctor. So I thought, and he didn't say, hey, just so you know, I went in there and I told him that I had a problem taking hydrocodone and I couldn't stop. So
right.
he said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to get you stabled out on a dose and then we'll wean you off. Now, you can't give an addict a prescription of OxyContin and
No.
expect them to take it as prescribed,
Right.
you know. So he was an idiot. So I got so hooked on them. Well, I was hooked on them for about 6 months to a year, and then I found my first methadone clinic. I didn't even know what methadone was. Found a clinic. A friend of mine had told me that her husband was prescribed methadone and that it worked really well, and she's like, you should look up clinics. So I did. I found one. It was a privately owned one, so I was paying $400 a month to go there, but I got my life back. I was running a salon. I had a girlfriend. We lived together for like almost 3 years. I was doing the best I had done in years. And everyone was so proud of me. But my family was on my back about being on methadone. You need to get off of it. That's poison, blah, blah, blah. So I listened to them and I did a slow taper. It took me about 9 months to taper off. Went pretty smoothly. I mean, I had minimal symptoms. It wasn't anything terrible.
Mm.
I stopped at 5 milligrams. I just stopped. And after about 3 days, I felt great. And then I met my husband. And when I met him, I was still with my girlfriend, but we were having problems. And I met him, and he was a heroin addict. And when I tell you that I fell in love with him, I mean, my whole being was, he was my whole fucking world. I just loved him so much. And he literally was working at Walmart in the lube department, living in his mom's, sleeping behind the couch, like, didn't have a car. He had nothing. And
Wow.
I had all this. I had a beautiful apartment, a car, like I had a life. And I meet him, and my stepmom had just passed, and so I was having troubles kind of dealing with that and stuff. And I'm like, you know, I'm really kind of craving, you know, do you think you can get anything, you know? So he started getting me like but he was on methadone because he was trying to get his life together. So he'd give me like Percocets here and there. And finally he's like, oh, I can't find pills, you know. I did Opana, Dilaudid, you know. Opana was my favorite. But then he's like, you know, I can't. The only thing I can get is black. And I didn't know what black was. I'm like, what's black? And he's like, heroin. And I'm like, no way. Not doing it. Okay, that lasted about an hour. And then I'm like, okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Like, so stupid. And so the first time I tried it, I smoked it. But I've been smoking cigarettes since I was 10. My lungs are shit. So I'm trying to smoke it. And he's like, you're wasting it. Like, all the smoke is just going up everywhere and I can't suck it in. And so I didn't get high. And so, of course, as an addict, well, let's try this again. So I tried it again, like a couple days later. But this time, you know, he was an IV user. And I was with him and his friend. And I will never forget this day. We were in a McDonald's parking lot. And we had only been together about 2 weeks. And he's like, look, you can smoke it or you can IV it. And he's like, you can smoke it, but you're going to waste it.
Right.
So I just thought about it for a minute, and I just stuck my arm out and I just turned my head and I said, just do it. Just do it. He did it. He should be a freaking phlebotomist because he's amazing. Like, didn't feel a thing. And then just all of a sudden that fucking rush, you know,
Yeah.
I'll never forget it. I will never, that day changed my whole life again, you know, for the worse. What's up? And, I got so addicted to that needle that I would shoot up water, dirty cotton.
Me too.
You know, is
Yeah.
just anything. I didn't care. As long as I was getting that needle in my arm, that was all that mattered. And if I could shoot it, that's what I was doing. And so he's like, you got to get clean, because he's like, I'm trying to get my life together, because he was already homeless. He already did all that.
Right.
And he didn't want to live that life anymore. So I went back to the methadone clinic. I was so mad at myself for go back. I end up getting pregnant. He ends up going to jail. Sorry, I'm kind of all over the place.
No,
he goes
okay.
to jail for some charges, and like a burglary charge, because we got hooked on this Potion 9 stuff. I don't know if you've ever heard of it, but
what's that?
Just anything to get high. We love this Potion 9, and you could get it from a nutrition store. So we decided it was a great idea for him to go break into the nutrition store one night and steal all the Potion 9. He was all over the news, girl, all over the news. They were like, Robert Alexander Garcia breaks into nutrition store for healthy, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, this shit ain't healthy. We were getting high as hell off of it.
My friend did the same thing. Her boyfriend broke into a pharmacy.
Oh my God. Like, so stupid. And I'm like telling him, okay, wear gloves, take the plates off. The two things I told him to do were the two things he didn't do. He didn't take the plates off, and he didn't wear gloves. So he breaks into the nutrition store, and you'll never guess who was shopping at the grocery store right next door, a fucking ICE agent. So she saw the whole thing go down, and she followed him and got the plate number. And the next day we get caught stealing at Walmart, and the cops go, this car was used in a burglary last night. And I'm like, oh, fuck. So he goes to jail. He's like, you know, I ain't talking. And I'm crying. I've never been in trouble like this before. You know, I don't know what to do. And they come and search my apartment and immediately found all the product. So they take him to jail. And he's like, she had nothing to do with it, you know, and because I really didn't. I wasn't with him when it happened, you know. And so he goes to jail, and his bond was $50,000. So I had to come up with $5,000 to get him out. And I was so in love with him. I was like, I have to get him out. So it took me 6 days to come up with $5,000. How the hell I did that today, I don't even know. I don't know, but he gets out of jail, and
we could turn
like, I can't do that today.
We were hustlers.
Yes.
There's just something about being under the pressure of being sick and withdrawal, needing your partner to be with you, and not having shit like you will do. Dude, I could literally make something out of nothing, like a magic trick.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
I totally
that's what I did. It was like, he's like, you're not going to get me out. It's okay. You know, he was so sick because he was on methadone. And he was on like 110 milligrams of methadone. So he was so sick in jail, you know, and plus he was detoxing from Xanax. And I'm like, no, I'm fucking getting you out. I will get you out.
Yeah.
And I got him out in 6 days. He married me the next day, girl. He married me the next fucking day.
Did you like pawn a bunch of stuff? Did you sell something?
I literally conned money. I conned money out of everybody. So I'd get a little bit. I had a little bit of money, and then I went to like my biological dad's house, who I hadn't spoken to in years, and I'm crying to him, saying that, you know, I was behind on my bills and this and that, you know, just fucking conned it out of everybody, you know, manipulated everybody into, I'm this victim. Oh my God, I just need this money. And finally it was 6 days later, and I had the money. So he married me the next day, because he's like, well, you're a fucking ride or die. You got me, you know. So he married me, and we get our life together, and we're doing good. I get pregnant. We were detoxing off methadone when I got pregnant. The methadone clinic tells me, you cannot detox while you're pregnant. You will lose that baby.
Yeah.
And so I'm like devastated. I'm like, I don't want to have a baby on methadone. You know, I was just devastated. My whole pregnancy, I was so worried, sick about what was going to happen. And of course, what I thought was going to happen happened. He detoxed. Horrific. It was the worst thing I've ever witnessed in my life. My little tiny 6-pound baby sneezing, watery eyes, yawning, crying, just, oh my God, it was just terrible. And it killed me. I'm like, I fucking hate, and then the NICU doctors told me I could have detoxed during my second trimester. They're like, you would have been fine during your second trimester. So I hated that methadone clinic. So I'm like, you guys fucking lied to me. You told me he wasn't going to detox. And he was in the NICU for 2 weeks. And so I'm like, I'm fucking done with this clinic.
Yeah.
So I literally just stopped going. I'm like, and I'm thinking, if my baby can do it, I can do it. So I just stopped going. Oh my God.
That wasn't a good
when
idea.
I say that detox was terrible, it was the worst detox I'd ever been through. Because I was on a high dose because I was pregnant, you know? And so we were trying to taper ourselves. And I'll just touch base on a couple of my overdoses. This was the biggest overdose, or one of the biggest overdoses I ever had. We were driving down the highway. I had a bottle of pills. There was 10 milligram methadone, 20 1 milligram Xanax, and 10 somas. And because we had them for our detox, we're driving on the highway. We don't have plates. We don't have our registration. Our windows are tinted black. We passed a sheriff, and I'm like, we're getting pulled over. And my husband's like, no, we're not. We're not doing nothing wrong. And I'm like, yes, we are. We're going to get pulled over. Sure enough, he lights us up. And all I'm thinking, my husband's on felony probation. If they find these pills, he's going away forever, because I know that he would take the charge. So I didn't even think. I took that bottle. I said, tell him to call the squad. And I just dumped him back. And he's like, no. And I'm like, I just felt like I always had to save him, you know, like I couldn't be without him. So I didn't think I didn't think it was going to be that bad. I just thought, well, they're going to get the squad and then they'll pump my stomach and I'll be fine. Wrong. The squad got there. The sheriff was like, what's the rush this morning? We were going 61 and a 60. And I said, well, I'm overdosing. And he's like, do you need me to call the squad? I said, unless you want me to die on the side of this fucking road, I suggest you do. And so he gets the squad there literally within like 3 minutes. They're like, are you able to get out of the car and walk and get on the stretcher? And I said, yes. So I get out of the car and I get on the stretcher, and they get me in the back of the squad. And when they get you in the back of the squad, they have to look over your whole body to make sure they mark down whatever marks you have, you know. So he's looking over my whole body, and the last thing I remember is him saying, oh, honey, you have a track mark. And then I was out. I don't remember anything after that. Next thing I know, I wake up like a couple days later. I was in the ICU and I was on breathing machines. The breathing machine would turn off every 10 minutes to try to let my body breathe on its own. And it would only take 10 seconds for it to turn back on because I wasn't breathing. The doctors didn't know if I was going to make it or not. They told my husband, we don't know. But they were giving me fentanyl to keep me sedated. So I think that's really what was keeping my breathing so shallow, is because I already had all those drugs in my system. And then, so anyways, I did make it through that. They did send me to psych for that because they said that was not a rational thing to do.
Who was giving you guys the methadone pills? Because I know that me and my husband, we got methadone pills prescribed to us, but normally I see people go to the clinic and they have to get the liquids, but we were getting a prescription of the 10 milligram, 365 10 milligram methadone pills. And that's the same thing we would do, was get the Xanax and the Soma and the methadone.
Yeah.
And it's like, you're literally, if you just take a little bit too much of the Xanax with the methadone, it's over. Like it's over. Dying.
You're done. Yeah. Yep. You're done. You are done. You don't know how many times I have found my husband passed out on the floor, just laying like this with his arms out, barely breathing, because he was mixing so much Xanax with his methadone.
Yeah.
Well, so kind of fast forward. I just want to touch base on this a little bit. Now, reminder for everybody, This is in the past. This is not
Right.
current. This is in the past. We find out about the darknet, and now, when I tell you it's very hard to order drugs off the darknet, it is very hard. You got to know what you're doing. You got to be smart with computers.
I don't even know how to
You could
get to the
learn.
dark net. Like, I wouldn't even know what
Yeah,
to...
exactly. It's a completely different browser. It's not like Google, It's the browser is called Tor. And so my husband is a genius when it comes to computers. So he was determined to figure out how to work the darknet. So he figures it out, and he gets, all of a sudden we're waiting for the mailman. The mailman gets there. We get our first package, and we're like, no fucking way that this worked. No way. All we ordered was 4 Xanax bars. That was it, because we were just trying it out to see if it actually worked. We get this package in the mail. We open it up. It's a DVD case, and it still has the cellophane around it. So we're like, we got scammed. They sent us a fucking DVD. So we're like, well, we're going to open it anyway. So we take the cellophane off. We open up the DVD case. And inside the DVD case, it's called a Mylar bag, which is like a foil bag, which makes it like pretty much proof. Like they can't, when they scan it, they're not going to see anything.
Okay.
Well, we didn't know that at the time. So we open up the Mylar bag, and there's our 4 Xanax bars. And we're like, no fucking way. And the darknet has every drug you could possibly want.
Yeah.
So that opened up the fucking gate. Like, we were ordering every week. Our biggest package we ever got was 1,000 bars.
And they just come right in the mail to you.
Yep. Come right in the mail to you.
Are the prices inflated, or are they like regular prices?
They're cheaper. They're very cheap. Like right now, I could tell you right now on the net, you can get Xanax bars for $1 a piece. $1 a piece. Isn't that crazy? So it was very cheap. But back then, when we were doing it, it was a little bit more expensive. You'd pay maybe about $4 a bar. So, and we loved Xanax. So it was just so easy. So our biggest package we ever got, we met a guy from China who was, he was pressing his own Xanax bars, and he wanted us to sell them for him. So, we're like, all right, we'll try it, So we didn't think he was really going to send us anything. We're like, send us a package and, whatever. Well, it's like 8 p.m. and UPS comes knocking at our door. And I'm not telling anybody to order, girl. Don't worry. I'm not. That is a federal offense. Do not do it.
Just common knowledge. Just common knowledge.
Yeah.
You don't need to order drugs off the internet, people. Okay.
Yes, don't do it. That is a federal offense if you get caught. It's very stupid. But so anyway, it's 8 p.m. UPS comes knocking at our door. Number one rule is you never sign for your package. Well, my husband's an idiot, and he wanted it so bad he fucking signed for it because he's stupid.
So how do you get it then? If you don't sign for it, you make him leave it on the doorstep?
Yeah, it comes. All of it comes priority, so you don't have to sign for any of the priority packages. So, most people send it priority, unless a few people would send it like snail mail, just like regular mail. But most people did priority because you would get a tracking number. So anyways, it's a big box, and we're like, what the fuck is in this big box? So we get it into our living room. We open it up. All of a sudden, there's all those little peanuts in there. And we're like, what the fuck? So we start digging, and there is literally fucking big Ziploc bags just full of bars. Bag after bag after bag. We stopped counting at 1,000. We couldn't count anymore. We got so many, but they disappeared. I don't know how. Just stupid Xanax days. You don't know. I don't know where they went. They literally disappeared.
Y'all have been hanging out with people who took some. I know what you mean.
So someone could have broke into my apartment. I don't know. My husband still to this day will question me. Did you take those bars that time? Did you really take them? I'm like, how many times do I have to tell you I didn't fucking take them?
Right.
I don't know where they went. So, you just black out for, I don't remember the first 3 months of my son's life because I was in such a blackout, and I have so much guilt from that. I remember when I overdosed that time and I was in psych. When I got out of psych, I went to go pick up my son from the daycare, And I didn't recognize him when I walked in the room because I had been high for so long. I didn't even recognize him. And I just have so much guilt from that. But so fast forward, my husband ends up going to prison because he fucked up on probation. That was the day CPS stepped in. We were both under the influence. He goes into his probation office and he was high, and she called him out on it. So he threatened to kill her. And my husband's Hispanic, and he threatened to send the Mexican mafia after her. He don't know no Mexican mafia. Like, you're an idiot. So he went to prison for that burglary charge, and then terroristic threats and assault on an officer. So he got 3 to 5 years. But that day when he went to jail, that night I lost my husband and both of my kids in the same day.
Damn.
I went off the deep end. Went off the fucking deep end. I was homeless for, I was on the run. I was on probation too for just theft charges. And so I was on the run for a while. Homeless, couch surfing. My heroin, the guy that I used to get heroin from, he was a 65-year-old crackhead. When my husband was in prison, he was sexually assaulting me for 6 months. And then my mother-in-law used to tell me, Rachelle, nothing in life comes free. And he was giving me free drugs. He'd give me free heroin. I never had to pay for it. Right. But I'm like, no, I'm going to get out of this game before anything happens. I'm going to get out of the game before it happens. And I didn't really know what she meant by that. I thought she meant that, like, I was going to have to physically pay him for it.
Right.
Until the one day that I go over there and he gets a knife out and tells me, you're paying for it right now.
Right.
And he raped me. And I didn't say anything to anybody for a very long time because my mother-in-law was the first person I told. And she told me, Rachelle, if you tell Bobby, he will never be with you again. You cheated on him and he will never be with you again. And so I thought it was my fault. I'm like, you're right. I cheated on him, and I didn't realize until I went to my second treatment center and I finally told that therapist what happened. And he looked me in the eyes and said, Rachelle, don't you for a second think that was your fault. That man raped you and it was not your fault. And I'm like, fuck, dude, he did rape me. Like, he did. He did.
That happens a lot. And
yeah.
What we do as women is we like blow it off and say it's our fault, and we never talk about it because we think because we were getting high that we deserved it.
Yep. That I asked for it, because I'm like, well, he was giving me free drugs, and he's like, you see that bag of heroin right there? He's like, you want it? Take your fucking pants off. Otherwise you're not getting it, and so I just felt like it was my fault. And I'm like, he's dead now, but I did try to press charges, and I went to a woman officer, gave her my statement, and she looked me in the eyes and said, Rachelle, sometimes we do things when we're on drugs that we don't want to do. And we're not going to press charges against him because it's going to put you in more danger. And I just felt like such a piece of fucking meat, And so that I still haven't dealt with that. I was just assaulted again 3 months ago. I think it was about 3 months ago. I was assaulted again. And because I chose to do methamphetamine around the wrong people. And, my mom, like I told my mom what happened, and I actually told on him the day that it happened. I called the cops. I called 911 right after it happened, and gave them my statement. And I don't know what's going to happen with him. Still, I don't know. I know that he has a warrant out for his arrest, and my husband wanted to kill him, because my husband didn't get to protect me that first time because he was in prison. And so today he's like, Rachelle, you have to let me do something about it. And I'm like, no, because then I'm going to lose you, then I'm going to lose you. So I after I was homeless, I finally I was homeless for about 8 months, and my son got placed with my mom. So I was grateful for that he at least wasn't in actual foster care.
Right.
But the judge told me that I had to do long-term treatment in order to get him back. So I got myself into a long-term treatment center. I went there for 8 months, and my son got to come live with me. I got him back within 30 days.
That's
It
awesome.
was the best, like the best thing, the best treatment center ever. I recommend it to any female that is struggling, because you get your kids back literally within 30 days. And they get to live with you. They go to daycare, and then you do treatment during the day, and then they come home from daycare, and they're home with you all night. They get to sleep with you at night, and it was amazing. And I decided after that treatment center, when I graduated from there, my case closed. So they said, you really can do whatever you want because your case is closing when you graduate from here. But I decided to continue my treatment because I knew that the longer you're in treatment, the higher success rate you're going to have. So I went to a 2.5-year outpatient program. They got me an apartment. They put me on Section 8. It was just my first time having my own place. It was amazing. I was sober for 18 months. I was the best time of my life. The only downfall to it was my eating disorder did come back when I got sober. So I did struggle with that a little bit, but other than that, like, that was the happiest time of my life. And that's what I'm still trying to get back to.
Right.
It was great. So I relapsed 18 months in on Dilaudid, and I didn't tell the treatment center. I passed my UA. How, I don't fucking know, but I did. And I never told on myself, and it stuck with me forever. It was eating me alive, because when you go to treatment for that long, and they're literally in your brain, like, you telling yourself. So I'm in there bawling to my counselor, but not telling her why I'm crying. And she's like, Rachelle, did you relapse? I'm like, no, I didn't relapse. Because I knew they were going to make me call CPS on myself if I did. So I'm like, I couldn't tell them. Well, how I got on Suboxone is I started taking Kratom. So there's this big controversy on Kratom, whether it's addictive or not. And I think it's individualized. I really do. I think some people can handle taking it and some people can't, just like everything.
Right.
I can't handle taking anything. I have to literally be completely drug-free. I can't drink. I can't smoke pot. I can't, because it literally leads to other things.
Me too.
And so I started doing Kratom, and I was doing a lot. I was taking 30 capsules at a time, feeling like I was on heroin, nodding out, itching like crazy.
Because people get angry at me when I tell these people that there are people who are taking like 60, 90, 100 milligrams of Kratom. And I just got a phone call today at Dr. B's treatment center. A guy called and he said, I'm trying to get off Kratom. I take 60 grams a day, and I don't know what to do, and I need help, and I don't want to be sick. And it's like,
you get dope sick.
I don't understand why the advocates that are trying to advocate for Kratom are not honest about the potential of addiction with it. Like, just be honest about it. The same way we are about Suboxone. Like, Suboxone causes dependency. If you get on Suboxone, you are going to have to taper to get off of it. You will be sick as a dog if you try to jump off cold turkey. It's like, you want to give the whole wraparound of what it is, so that way
tell them everything before they start on it,
so they can make an educated decision on what they want to use.
That's why I made my video on it, because I was like, I just want to share my experience on it, so that way if you're thinking about starting Kratom, the whole thing about it before, you're all the way informed before you make a decision if you want to start taking it or not. I took it, and I got dope sick very quickly on it. And it wasn't like a strong dope sick. It wasn't like a heroin dope sick, but I still had symptoms. I still had restless legs and the sweating and the hot, cold chills. And, I still had symptoms where I couldn't stop. So I had to go to the treatment.
How did you take that?
I took the capsules.
Oh, okay.
So I would take like 30 capsules at a time. Yeah, that stuff is, even the capsules are gross.
There's a girl on here on TikTok that just made a video recently about, she came clean to everybody about relapsing on Kratom, and now she has an ulcer. And
oh my God,
the ulcer in her stomach might be from all that plant matter that she was swallowing that wasn't like, I guess it wasn't breaking down. Because, our bodies aren't made to swallow that kind of stuff. Like,
no, it's not. It's not. It's a foreign substance. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, you're not supposed to take shit like this. So, and it's not regulated. It's not, so, anyway, so my treatment center made me call CPS on myself.
Damn.
So I call CPS, and they were like, what's kratom? So I had to explain to them what kratom was, and they were like, okay, they're like, so you can buy it at a gas station? And I'm like, yeah, I buy it at a gas station. And they were like, or a head shop, and they were like, okay, we're not going to open a case today. I'm like, okay, thank you. I was so pissed at that treatment center for making me, I had been sober for so long and treatment for so long. And they pressured me into getting on Suboxone. They said, you literally either get on Suboxone or you're going to have to like leave, because they were so scared that I was going to relapse on heroin.
Right.
And so finally I'm like, everyone was telling me, don't do it. This was like about 3-4 years ago. I feel like there's a lot, people are starting to open their minds to it, but you gotta remember, I was in AA, NA, all that. I went to Heroin Anonymous, and they're against it. It's nothing. You are abstinent or you're not sober. And I had a sponsor that fired me because I told her I was getting on Suboxone. But I'm like, I can't stop taking kratom. Like, you don't understand. Like, they're gonna take my kid away from me again.
Right.
And so I got on Suboxone, and that obviously got me clean. And I did really well for a long time. And then I started up on Xanax bars again. And that's really kind of been my life since. I'll do good for a while, and then I fuck up. And then I do good for a while, and then I fuck up. And I decided one night, I was really high on methamphetamine, and I decided to make a TikTok video about it. And people saw it. And I didn't think anyone was going to see it. It's embarrassing. That's embarrassing that the first video people really acknowledged I was very under the influence. And my followers have watched me, fuck up over and over, the drama, but I'm always honest. I kind of have to be honest, because when you get on here live and you're under the influence of Xanax, everyone knows.
Everybody can tell. It comes across when you are, because your little eyes just become so kind of like,
I'm just like, one eye's going this way, one eye's going that way. Like, I'm humiliated. I've made a fool of myself on this app, but I'm also showing people, like, this is the struggle, man. Like, this is it.
Is it helping you stay accountable?
I'm fighting so hard.
Does TikTok help you stay accountable to like help you?
It does. It does. It makes me want to continue to do better. I have found more support on this app than I have ever found in real life. I have made the best friend I've ever met, Melissa. She's literally my best friend. I've never had a friend like her before, and I met her on TikTok. We've never met in real life, but she is still, I could call her right now, and if I had a problem, she would fly to me right now. And I know she would. And my husband's really struggling. He started shooting fent again last week, and I thought he was just doing Dilaudid, which I know it's not just Dilaudid, but I thought he was doing a prescription.
Right.
Then he told me last night that no, he was actually doing fent. I'm like, are you kidding me? You can't go to those Roxy's. You can't. You're gonna die. You are going to die. So I'm fighting to help him get on Suboxone again. And I just always feel like I'm trying to save him. I can't save you. You have to save yourself.
Yeah, you have to save yourself. You know what I'm saying? Because he's going to end up bringing you down, and it's going to be, what's going to happen is he's going to take you with him, and y'all are going to lose everything. You know what I mean?
Yes. Yes.
I understand, because me and my husband are both in recovery, and last year he had a relapse. And it was really scary. I didn't know what I was going to do, but I for the longest time, I was enabling him. And what happened was I had to stop enabling him. I stopped calling into his job. I stopped letting him have his truck. I stopped giving him money. I stopped doing all these things that were helping him not hit rock bottom. And when I stopped doing those things, he hit rock bottom, and then he got sober. So what you're doing, and you might not even realize it, is even if you're just letting him stay with you, it's like enabling him to have a place to be there to be able to use. You know what I'm saying? Even if he doesn't use
his mom enables him so bad too. She provides him with drugs. She provides him with needles. He wouldn't have gotten high. He wouldn't have been able to get high because he wouldn't have had a freaking ride anywhere. I left him at his mom's because he got high on Xanax, and I said, "You're going to your mom's. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. I'm trying so hard to stay. So you don't understand. My mom is this close to getting an attorney to try to fight for custody, like full custody, not partial, not temporary custody. Like she wants him. I'm like, I can't do this. Like, I can't do this anymore. I can't. Like, I know that I messed up the other day, and that was a very impulsive decision that I made. And I have found Xanax bars in the past, and I flushed them.
Yeah.
I don't know why I couldn't flush them that day. It was just a mistake. That's okay. It's what you do after your mistake is what matters. And that's what I've learned. Like, you may fall, but you better get your ass right back up and keep going. Like,
have you looked
I
into
will never
like
stop
some
fighting.
kind of therapy that you can do that will show your mom that you're trying to like do the right
Yeah,
thing?
I am in therapy. I do see a psychiatrist. So I am
What about
trying, like, I
intensive
have a,
outpatient treatment where you go to like
I,
recovery
I
groups and
did
stuff?
just do that. I just did an outpatient, treatment for psych. It was like it was basically psych, but
Mm-hmm.
outpatient. So I got to go home at night. I did that for a few weeks and that really helped. It did. Like, I have so much trauma. I've been raped. I've been like, we all have trauma. You know, my uncle committed suicide about a year and a half ago. And that's when I really started doing Xanax again, because he was my world, like my world. He was like my big brother. He was only in his 40s. It was very sudden, very graphic, very, none of us had any clue that that was about to happen. Like, it was just literally out of the blue. No one had any idea that he had any mental problems at all. He was just so happy go lucky. And all of a sudden he killed himself, you know, and that has devastated me. And so I'm trying right now to work in therapy, work through all my trauma, work through, you know, the things that happened to me, all the things I did to everybody. I used to steal from my mom all the time. I stole from everybody.
Do you
And,
still want
you
to get
know,
high? Do you still have the desire to get high? Is that what it is? You still like it? You still enjoy it?
um, like, I do not crave opiates anymore, but I'm on
Mm-hmm.
Suboxone. I'm on 24 milligrams of Suboxone. So I don't crave opiates. I do crave benzodiazepine, and there
Yeah.
is, what help is there for that other than treatment, treatment, therapy, getting on the, I am bipolar, and I, um, have borderline personality disorder and anxiety. I have terrible anxiety. And, so when I take a benzo, it's just so calming,
Yeah.
it's so calming, calms my head down. I have ADHD really bad. Like, so when I take Xanax, like, everything is so calm, but
Is there
it's not
not something
like,
else that they can prescribe you that is like that will help with those feelings? Because I mean, if you're using it to medicate what's going on, like with your mental health,
yeah,
is there not medication that they can help you get on that'll help that?
I know. Like, I am on quite a bit of medication. I take probably like 7 to 9 pills every night, and
Mm-hmm.
it's all just psych meds. And so I'm on quite a bit. Um, I just I don't know. I don't know what my deal is. Like, I don't want to live that life. It brings such chaos. I just, like, you tell your truth on here. Like, you tell everybody everything. And I think that is so fucking brave, because it's so hard to tell everybody. Like, I just fucked up in front of my son. I put him in the car. I drove with him. I wrecked numerous times. I totaled 7 cars last year.
Damn.
7 fucking cars. And I would put him in the car with me. So now anytime I'm looking down at my phone or anything, Mommy, are you tired? Mommy, are you tired? A 7-year-old shouldn't have to go through that. I feel the guilt I have is like unbearable. Like, it's just, I feel so guilty. My oldest son is 17. He doesn't want anything to do with me. He moved out 7 years ago, and he just hasn't fucking looked back.
Yeah.
He follows my TikTok, so he sees it all. But he's so successful. He's a musician. He just got signed. He's only 17, and he just got signed. He has his first concert coming up in like 2 weeks. He's doing so good, and he could be doing anything right now. He could be doing drugs. He could be doing, but he chooses to do music, which is great. And I need to get my youngest in therapy. And we used to do play therapy, and we did that for a very long time. We graduated out of it because he was doing so well.
Yeah.
And, you know, I'm just so grateful that I have not hurt him in any way. That this last time when I put him in the car, we did hit quite a few curves. And I know that I did wreck into a few things, like, but not like big wrecks. I didn't like wreck into a car. I think I was hitting curbs because he told my mom that I hit something and everything went flying forward. And that's why my mom is just infuriated with me, which I don't blame her. I don't blame her. I
Yeah,
don't.
yeah,
I
she
would be
just
mad at
wants
me
to
too.
protect you. But you know what you need to do? Like, I tell everybody this, and this is what I do, because I still have cravings for benzos, like a lot, and benzos and meth sometimes. And what I
Yeah.
do is, like, I make lists of the pros of getting high and the cons of getting high.
Yeah.
And I write it down because I write down exactly like, okay, if I get high, this is what's going to happen. Like, I will wreck my
Yeah.
car. My
Yep.
husband will divorce me. My son will get taken away. It's like I get to write it down and then I see it and then I read it. That helps me a lot to see the
That's a good
consequences of my
idea.
actions. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that's a good idea. Like, I always tell my husband to play the tape through, but I need to be doing that. Like, playing that tape all the way through. Like,
You
okay,
have to
all right, I
practice
want to
it
get
every
high.
single day. Every single
Yeah.
day, you have to think about the worst thing that happened to you. That what I do
Yes.
is I think about the day Nathaniel got taken away from me. So anytime I
Yes.
get triggered to use, I think about the day my son, I had to give him to DHS. It was the worst day of my life. Some people say, well, how can you do that? How can you think about your past all the time? Because I don't
Yeah.
want to forget it. Because if I forget it, then
Yeah.
I'm going to get high. That's what
Exactly.
happens
My
to
mom
me.
says that to me all the time. All you do is talk about your addiction. That's all you talk about is addiction, addiction, drugs, drugs, drugs. That's all you talk about. I have to. If I don't keep that front forward, like my center focus, then I am going to fuck up like I did the other day.
Right.
Because I try to pretend like I'm not an addict. Let's not talk about it. Let's brush it under the rug and pretend like it's not there. Because that's what my family does. They brush everything under the rug
And
and
you've got to
it's,
clean your house and go through everything and make sure you have nothing
I
left
know.
over
Like,
because
I,
you were probably doing
I,
great. And then, I
I
know if I
was.
found 7 bars, that would be hard for me. And I've been sober for a while.
Yeah. It is. It's hard. Like, that was hard. And I wasn't planning on getting high that day. I just
Uh-huh.
freaking came across them and was like, yep, and just took them. And it's like, I didn't even think it through. It's just so, that is my problem is I'm so impulsive. But like I said, I have found bars in the past, and I flushed them and I would video it, tape it and send it to my mom just to show her like, look, I found something, but I flushed it.
Right.
And like I always feel like I have to prove myself to her, and it's her and I are just not on the same wavelength whatsoever. Like we're just not. And I understand, like, she worries. I've had a lot of really bad overdoses. There was a lot of overdoses I didn't talk about, but it's all the same. I overdosed about 6-7 times. It, like most heroin addicts do. Fentanyl came around my city way back in like 2015, and it was like killing me, and I didn't know why until I had a big overdose on it, and they drug tested me, and it was literally fentanyl. There was no
Yeah.
heroin, no morphine in my system whatsoever, like nothing. And so I was doing 6 years ago, and I know how dangerous it is. So to think of my husband doing that last week, I'm like, you
How
are
does
you
that affect
fucking
your
kidding me?
sobriety when your husband's struggling with his addiction?
I
That's got to
know,
make it
like
even
that.
harder.
Do you know how triggering that was for me to show up at his mom's and see those track marks on his arm?
Oh, yeah, I can
I got
imagine.
so fucking triggered. I was so pissed. I came home. I like went live. I had like 100 people in my live, and I'm just going off. I should not have done that. I should have just picked up the phone and called somebody and vented to somebody instead of venting to everybody,
Yeah, you need
because
to have like a
everybody attacked
sponsor
him.
or a mentor, somebody that you can talk to
Yeah,
that you can trust, like your best friend
that's what
Melissa. Call her when
yeah,
that kind of stuff
yeah,
happens, because what happens is you're putting yourself in harm's way by coming
yeah,
on right away when it's happening. Like, it's okay
yeah,
to share what happened because that happened. That's the past, and we're talking about
yep,
it now. But when it's happening
right,
at that moment, you're putting yourself
yeah,
in danger because there's people on the internet who will be like,
yeah,
"I'm going to call CPS on
yeah.
her," you know. Oh,
Exactly. They're
and
they're so quick to. I will tell you, a DEA agent contacted us a few months ago and said he was asking us about the darknet. Yeah. And I'm not going to go too much into it, but I will just say that I don't know. I was talking about it on my YouTube, and then a DEA agent contacted me. So that's why I stopped my YouTube. I'm like, are you guys fucking kidding me? Like, I'm telling you about my past. I didn't say that I was doing it today. Right. I said I was doing it back in 2012, 2013. Like, this was years ago.
I think it's because
you're going to put me in federal prison.
That's because people are tipping them off. People are calling them on you, because I tell story times all the time about my past, and I've never had the feds reach out to me. And I talk about some crazy stuff I did. I'm talking like
you do
pharmacy shit, federal shit that I could have gone to prison for. But people are
and it's like
there's mean people out there.
It's like the feds don't fuck around.
You know what I mean?
What?
These people on the internet, they don't have your best interest at heart, and they're trying to hurt you.
No, they don't.
Yep.
You
gotta be real
careful. Don't. And the feds do not fuck around. They do not fuck around. You're gonna tip them off that I was ordering from the dark net. Like, they're gonna go back and be like, let's see how many packages. Like, you know what I mean? Like, just fuck off. Like, this was years ago that I was doing this. Literally like 2013. Like, it's 2021. Like, you can tip them off all you want. Nothing's gonna that was so long ago. Like, so long ago. I'm like, everybody does story times on here about their past, and just a freaking story time. Like, I'm just trying to let you guys know about my life, and that I know, whatever. But people are just assholes. But it's
what are you gonna do now, though? Now that you have had the little slip up, you don't have what are you doing to protect yourself? Is your husband staying at his mom's?
He's at his mom's. Okay. He is at his mom's. It's not a good place for him to be. And I think that's why I always let him come home, because his mom will provide him. His mom will enable him way more than I will. Yeah. But at the same time, I can't just let him come home. Like, I can't. He really needs to work on himself and find himself. And, we have to get sober separately and stay sober separately before we come back together, because we did stay sober together for a long time, and we did really well. And I really know deep in my heart that we can get back to that. But you got to get sober. I got to get sober. And then, we can talk. And it doesn't mean I'm going to go, at first I was like, I'm divorcing him right now. Like, I'm calling them. And I did call legal aid, because I was like, I'm going to divorce him. That's it. I'm done. But, at the end of the day, we've been together for almost 10 years, and I love him. Like, how can I leave him for struggling?
Then you work through it, but you have to put your recovery first.
Yes.
And if he doesn't catch up to you, then he has to stay where he's at, and you're going to go on and get sober, and you can still love him, and he can still love you, but he's not going to want to be around. You're not going to be if you're 100% sober, living your life, doing all these amazing things in recovery, he's not going to want to, or you're not going to want to be bringing him along with you, because you can have
I already don't
to help people go to schools and talk about drugs, and go to meetings and chair meetings and help people, and so he'll just kind of be on the back.
The only reason I haven't gone back to meetings is because I was so shunned for being on Suboxone. And I just don't want that to happen again. And I'm scared it's going to happen again. And I know that people are starting to open their minds more. I haven't been to a meeting in a few years. I did go to a virtual meeting, and I just listened. I didn't share. Normally I share every meeting, and stuff, but I just listened, and, because I hadn't been to a meeting in a very long time. So I'm trying to ease my way back into it. But I like the idea of a mentor instead of a sponsor.
Yeah.
I like the idea, because I've done the steps. I did meetings. I've done all. I'm not saying that you can't do the steps again, but
you got judged. What program were you at? NA or AA?
Well, the sponsor I had was through HA, which is Heroin Anonymous. She actually started the meeting here. We didn't have Heroin Anonymous here, and she started that meeting here. So.
These anonymous programs have got to stop judging people on Suboxone. Suboxone is saving people's lives, and that's going to be the norm. You're not going to see people that are getting off opiates that are not using Suboxone. That's the way it's going. That's the goal.
Everybody. They're starting to give it to, I mean, there's apps for it now.
Yeah.
That's how I got my husband on it, was through QuickMD. And
Yeah.
it was the easiest thing in the world to do. It was so easy. And, but for some reason, he'll only take like half a strip a day, or maybe a full strip a day at most. But he's prescribed 2 strips a day. And I'm not trying to tell his story, but it's just, I think that he's only taken a little bit because he still has those reservations in his head.
He knows that he can trump it if he has some dope. He can knock that sub off his receptor if he has fentanyl. And that's what's happening. He's still manipulating that medication. If he could just get focused and take his subs as prescribed, he would be in so much better of a place. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah. If he would actually take his full script and actually take 2 a day and get stabled out on that, I think he'd be doing a lot better. But I think part of him doesn't want to be on anything. He just came off of methadone. He got kicked out of the methadone clinic. So he had that really bad detox for 3 days, and then I put him into precipitated withdrawal. And, so I think a part of him just doesn't want to be on anything. And I struggled with that. So anybody that is struggling with those thoughts of like, oh, I'm not sober because I'm on Suboxone, like that took me a long time to come to terms with and to know I am sober. Yeah. I'm not sticking a needle in my arm anymore. I'm not overdosing anymore. I have a beautiful apartment. I have a little piece of shit car, but it's still my car. Like that's my car, I love that little beater, and my life is drastically better. I just do have a struggle here and there. And, but I think a lot of people do, and I just don't think it's talked about a lot.
The goal with your episodes of use, I don't like to say relapse, I say episode of use, is that you want to get to a point where they're getting farther and farther away. So you had an episode of use. Okay, move forward. Keep going forward.
Yep.
Let's try to get 6 months without another episode of use, or 8 months, or 2 months, however long, and just keep on stacking them up. So that way, eventually, you'll be like, oh my God, it's been a year and I haven't had an episode of use.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Exactly. Exactly.
Moving forward and taking steps in the right direction is a positive thing. Some people don't do well with all or nothing. You have to do this or you're, you know what I mean? Maybe you need to ease in like that.
Yep. I think so too. I think like just being honest with my doctor is another thing that I really need to do. I really need to be 100% honest with them, because I'm not. I'm very honest with my therapist. She knows everything. She knows every time I relapse. She knows about all my meth use that because I was doing meth quite often about 6 months ago. Well, 6 months to like a year ago, I was doing it not every day or anything, but too frequently. It was too frequent. I shouldn't have been doing it that frequently. And, but now I haven't done it for like 3 months. At least 3 months. It was when I was assaulted, but I haven't done heroin since 2016. That's amazing. That's like good. I do not do opiates anymore. Like that. I know that I had a fuck up, but I'm so proud of myself that I don't even crave it anymore. I don't even think about it anymore. It's not even a thought in my head anymore. Like, it's just not a thought. So my life is definitely better. I just wanted to reiterate that it took me a long time to think of myself as sober on subs. And because, I had really good friends that were in the rooms that were like, you shouldn't be on those and you need to be totally absent, and that's just not true. Some people struggle more than others, and that's great if you can be on nothing. But unfortunately, I need to be on something. I don't trust myself. I do not trust myself.
I think you're doing the right thing, and I totally support medication-assisted treatment. I mean, I'm on Suboxone. It saved my life. I wouldn't be here today if I hadn't got on MAT. And I have no doubt about that whatsoever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And here's the thing, like, you're doing well, you're succeeding, and that's what you have to do. Take each win and keep moving forward. That's the problem with people in recovery, is that they think, oh my God, I picked up one time, I fucked off all my time, I have to start all over again, I'm horrible, I'm a loser, I relapsed. It's like,
Yeah.
that's such a
It
negative
has,
way to look at it. Like, stop beating yourself up. One
yeah,
day out of 365 days is not a
exactly.
failure, you know?
Yep, that's what I keep trying to tell my mom. I'm like, I messed up one day, not for a whole week, not for 2 weeks, not even 2 days. It was one day that it was a big mess up. And yes, I put myself in dangerous situations that day because I wasn't in my right mind. After not taking bars for a few months and then taking
Right,
7 of them, you're going to be pretty fucking high.
right.
And they came from Mexico. They were pressed. They were, who knows what was in them. So it's just, I'm like, I'm not going to think of myself as, like, you may think of me as a failure mom, but I'm not going to.
Right.
I messed up one day and I'm going to pick myself back up and I'm going to keep fucking going. And I'm going to show everybody that it's fucking possible, that it's
That's what you
possible
have
to
to
have a
do.
lapse and keep going, just, yeah, it's what you do after your fall down is what matters.
Exactly.
So,
And you're, like I said, like, more people can relate to what you're going through than that not. You know what I'm saying? Like,
exactly.
more people are struggling to stay sober than you would imagine. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
it's hard,
And
man.
some people, yeah. And some people don't talk about it. Some people, I call them like a lapse. Like if you mess up one day, I don't think of it as a full relapse. I think of it as just a little lapse and that's it. And I
Right.
think a lot of people have that and never talk about it. They never tell anyone. They keep it to themselves and then it eats them alive. And I'm just trying to show everybody that, like, you can be honest. You can tell on yourself to the whole fucking world. And I will tell myself to everybody, I
Yeah.
had a mess up. But look at me now. I'm still going strong. Like, I am not going to let that define me. I'm not going to let it bring me down. I'm going to keep going. My
Exactly.
husband messed up last week, but now he has 4 days now. In 4 days, it may not seem like a lot, but in this life, it is a lot,
That's great.
So
That's a start.
yeah,
I mean, that's
it
amazing.
is.
Let's
You got to
keep
start
on.
somewhere.
Let's pray. I hope that he keeps moving forward, because y'all
Me
are both
too.
worth it. You guys have to believe in yourself that you're worth it, that you deserve
Yeah.
recovery. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Like, you deserve to be sober and have an amazing life. Also, you're a mom, and so, like, I try to put that into my mind all the time, because I used to think, oh, I don't deserve to be sober. I'm a piece of shit. I might as well just die.
Yeah.
And it's like, no, like, I deserve this. I am
Yep.
worthy. I am beautiful. I am smart. I am kind.
Yes.
Like,
Yeah.
affirmations, building yourself up. Because I think when we're in our active addiction, we just get so low and so down on ourselves that we just feel like we're not worth it. You know what I mean? You're
Yep.
worth it. You're worth
Exactly.
fighting for.
Yep. I am. And I know I didn't used to feel that way, but I do today. And like those missionaries that came, they're coming back next week. And I'm like, I've never gotten involved in any church. And I don't know what church to get involved in. And I don't have to figure that all out today. But all I know is that when they came and they prayed for me and they said a couple prayers for me and they read out of the Bible and I was sobbing and I'm like, oh my God, how am I going to go tell my
That's
story?
because the
I'm
Lord is
falling.
convicting you. That is conviction. He is
Yeah.
convicting
So
you because you have strayed away, and you know your place. You know
yeah.
that you should be staying off drugs. You know that you should be taking care of your kids. And so that's God convicting you. Like, he is literally
Yes.
breathing down your neck like, "Come on, girl. Come on now."
Yep. Like
And
you
that's
can do it. You can do it.
you need to get spiritually connected with God again
Yes.
and get plugged back
Yes.
in. That will help you a lot.
I believe so too. Like I said in the beginning, when I first started, I said I just feel like everybody in active addiction, they are lacking that spirituality. Like I fully believed in my active addiction when I was at my lowest and I was homeless. My mother-in-law is very religious. And I remember telling her, God doesn't exist. He's not real. If he was real, why would I be living in hell right now? That's
Yeah.
bullshit. And she was so mad at me for saying that. And then I got sober and I'm like, God has to be real because there's no way I just made it through all that. Like,
Right.
how am I still alive today? I should not be here. You shouldn't be here. Like, and we are for a reason, and I knew that I wanted to help people and I didn't know how. I knew I didn't want to necessarily work in a treatment center, but I knew I wanted to help people in some way.
Yeah.
And TikTok has given me that opportunity to at least, I've gotten someone into treatment. I've helped get someone into treatment. Because I'm like, I'm not working right now. So if you need help, I will help you. I'll help you find resources. Like, I'm really good at that. I will help you find that, and just, it's okay to have a fuck up. It's okay. Like, do you have to? No, it doesn't have to be a part of recovery, but it can be. And if it is, like, just keep going.
We ain't judging you, girl. We're all proud of you over here on Real Talk Recovery, huh, guys? We're proud of you. We are proud of you.
Thank you. I appreciate you guys so much. Like,
I'm
I
so
really
glad you
do. Like,
came on. Were you nervous?
I know. I was so nervous. I was literally sweating, like profusely sweating. I'm like, I'm so nervous to come
You
tell
did
everybody.
great.
Like,
You did
thank
amazing.
you. Like I appreciate it so much. Like, all the support on here, like everyone that I've met, like, it's just been an out. Yes, there's some negative people that are assholes, but the outpour of support, like, has just been out of this world. Like, something I never could have dreamed of.
Yeah.
I can make a post saying I'm struggling, and I've got 50 people in that comment section. I'm here for you. People messaging me, and it's great to know that people are there, and I want to be there for them too. It's like, so I have to stay sober.
But here's the thing. Yes, it would be nice if you stayed sober to help people, but just by being authentic and being honest about what you're struggling with, I know it may not seem like it, but it really helps people to hear other people that are going through the same thing that they're going through. And
Yeah,
I don't want you to be eating Xanax bars, but if you did, I mean, I'm glad that you're able to be honest about it, because that's one of the main
yeah,
things. If you're going to get sober, you have got to be honest. You cannot live in
yeah,
a lie if you want to get
yeah,
sober. So
exactly.
you're making the steps in the right direction. Like, you're going that way, and so you just got to get to a point where you and your husband are on the same page. I think that's really going to
Yeah,
be like the detrimental part to whether you
I
stay
do
sober or not.
too.
You know what I mean?
I do too. I love him a lot, and I think being honest with my doctor and him, I think, are the two huge points that will literally either let me live or kill me. Like, it's going to be, those are the two most important things.
And
And,
would he do group
I
therapy
have,
with you, like marriage counseling or something with you?
we did try that once, but that was back when we were doing really bad. Like, we were sober, but we didn't know each other sober. So we were kind of struggling a little bit. So we did
Yeah.
start marriage counseling. But we didn't like the therapist, and I think he would be down for it now. I just wish he would get himself helps
Yeah.
in some way, therapy, doctor, I don't know, something, anything. I'm not saying you have to go to treatment for a year, but do something to help yourself.
Right.
So just anything. It's like, I've been trying for 10 years, man. I can't do it anymore. I just
Yeah,
can't.
he's gonna
So
drown
it's
you.
like,
He's gonna drown you.
yeah, it's worn me out, and I just, I can't do it anymore. I love him, but I'm gonna have to love him from afar for right now, and hopefully he'll heal himself. I don't know. It's like, you're a grown man. You're a grown man. You got to
It's
figure it
hard.
out.
Believe me, I get it. I totally understand. It's hard. It's
That's why I reached out to you, because
men are different than women. They're like, I don't want to say well, they're weaker. They're like not as strong as we are mentally. I feel like.
yeah, yeah,
You know what
I
I'm
do
saying?
too. Yeah, I
At least
believe
when
that
it comes to
too.
recovery, I feel like that's how it is with me and my husband. I feel like I'm like light years ahead of him, and he's like just
Yep.
hanging out back there, you know.
Yeah. You're like, come on, catch
Come
up,
on, I'm
catch up
leading
to
the
me.
way. You know what I mean? But
Yep, like, come on, let's go. Like, I would love to. I remember when I was going to meetings and in treatment, and I was sober, and I was doing so good. I was doing so good. Everybody was proud of me. Everybody trusted me again. And I couldn't wait for him to get out of prison so he could come join me, going to meetings, and we could be like this AA couple. And so I took him to a couple meetings, and he's like, dude, this isn't for me. He's like, I can't go to meetings. This is not for me. I don't want to be here. He's like, this doesn't help me. And I'm like, but you don't understand. You have to go to meetings if you want to be sober.
yeah,
And it took me so long to realize that there are so many different ways to get sober, not just meetings.
right.
Do I think you need to have a recovery plan? Yes. You need to be in recovery. Like, you can't just stop doing drugs and think everything's going to get amazing. Like
Right.
you have to get yourself plugged in, and you got to do something to help yourself. And so I don't know. Hopefully it'll work out, but if it doesn't, it doesn't. I'll still be here.
We're supporting you here. I really want to thank you again for coming on. What I'm going to do is I'm going to end this live stream, download it, and upload it to my YouTube channel. If you have any other social medias like Instagram or Facebook that you want me to post on the video on YouTube, text me your links. You got my cell phone number, don't you?
Yep, I do.
Okay, text me the links to your TikTok, YouTube, all that stuff, because people from my YouTube channel will go over to your YouTube and to your TikTok, okay?
Oh, okay, cool. Thank you so much for having me. Girl. Thank you. I love you. Thank you so much.
I'll see you later. You did amazing.
All right, thank you. Bye.
Okay, guys, sorry that I saw y'all commenting in the comments, and whenever I'm interviewing somebody, I don't read the comments, so I'm sorry that I didn't answer you guys. Real quickly, I'm going to download this video, and then I'm going to pop back on, and we'll talk about the live stream, okay? I think we have a lot to talk about. I really want to talk to you guys about how important it is to not beat yourself up if you have an episode of use. So give me about 2 minutes, and I'll be right back.